The following is a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. Hollywood Redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is Black Hollywood Live, Black Sports Weekly, featuring weekly in-depth interviews with some of today's most talked about athletes. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood Redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host of Black Hollywood Live, Black Sports Weekly.
Oh, yeah.
Hey!
I like your moves.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, sports fans, and welcome to another week of Sports Weekly here on BHL. I'm your host, Thaddeus, Massey, and joining me today is...
Whew, Charlotte Broadbent. I didn't say my name as quickly as that intro. Wow.
Yo, there's a lot going on in sports this week. I'm really excited to talk about some of our top stories. This Donald Sterling fiasco is still going on. We got to discuss that because the Sterlings are trying to weasel their way out of having to sell this team. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. We're expecting a caller in a little bit who's going to chime in on it. The world famous Nabate Isles of XM Sirius Radio is going to be joining us here in a few as soon as he calls in. And we are also going to be discussing this huge NFL draft that has started yesterday and all the twists and turns that have been thrown our way as far as that's concerned, because there were some unexpected things that occurred.
Yeah.
And some of us are really surprised.
And I think we have...
Okay. All right, thank you. Hello?
I think Nabate is here. Nabate, are you here?
Hello. Hi, sir. How are you?
What's
Hi.
going
How you
on,
doing,
buddy? Glad you were able to join us.
Everything's well. How's everything with you? And hello, Charlotte.
Hi.
Charlotte's here.
I
Hi,
am.
Charlotte. Hello. Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. Excited to
Good day.
talk sports.
I can't wait to discuss this whole this NFL draft. I don't know what to call it. It's it's very entertaining. It almost feels like a scripted show.
Exactly. It definitely. I just can't believe the intrigue involved in the draft. I remember, 25 years ago, when basically, 25-year anniversary of arguably the greatest top five collection of talent in the top five in the history of the league. You have 4 Hall of Famers in that top five of Troy Aikman, Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, and Deion Sanders. And at that time, it was just a small event. And now it's just culminated into such a production, an elaborate production, to say the least.
Right. There was at one point I was thinking about changing my last name to Sanders because I thought it would just ensure my success as an NFL, as a football player. But we didn't get a chance to get you to call in last week to talk about this whole fiasco with Donald Sterling and the Clippers. We had the icon, the legend, sports legend agent, Lee Steinberg, called in and gave us some of his expertise on the background of how this situation would possibly unfold. I definitely wanted to get your feedback, and I know some of the fans did. What is your take on this? Because we're still seeing this as a developing story, and Donald Sterling has a history of being extremely litigious. I just found out that he's an attorney himself. So
Well, that's in the recent recording that just came out. He said, "Well, I'm a lawyer," and I just think the fact that another recording has been leaked. I mean, I'm a quotation leaked.
Right.
Don't you think, Nabate, that he's smarter than this?
This situation, when Adam Silver made his announcement last Tuesday, and also too with the bravado that he made his announcement, because the first question, I don't know, the first question I'm not going to say verbatim, but it was along the lines of, are you prepared for pushback from Donald Sterling? And that was basically the question. And Adam Silver said, I don't know, in a way that he was ready to fight this situation. But I knew right then and there this was going to be a major. It's going to get ugly in litigation. You have Donald Sterling. Yes, he has a law background, And another thing too is that he can easily say that his conversation, which was actually recorded, it was illegally recorded. In California, you cannot record a conversation without permission of the other party. So
right,
already,
but not to cut you off, but just stemming off of that, the argument for a lot of people, I think, has been not that whether or not it's legal, it's that his views, they're out now, and people are exposed to his perception or his beliefs about certain minority groups. So does that matter, that whether or not, because now he's being judged by the court of public opinion? I'm the first person I will say that this person should have actually been banned from the NBA a long time ago, because Donald Sterling's history, first of all, when he took over, he bought the Clippers for $12.5 million in 1981 when they were in San Diego. He moved the team to Los Angeles without following NBA guidelines. So already there, and that was also the year that David Stern was appointed commissioner. So already you had a situation where he was becoming a quote-unquote maverick and doing things his own way. Then there were issues, Bill Fitch talked about this, of him not paying his employees, and also, too, another thing, players like Brent Barry spoke about the conditions of the LA Sports Arena that they played at, and also the conditions of their practice facilities were very subpar. So there's a lot of things, and also his racist mentality is another thing as well. His views and things like that, which has no place in any type of business, but especially in the NBA that promotes diversity and promotes harmony around the world. So this is a situation where he's done so many things, and also too, he was sued for housing discrimination numerous times. Him and his wife, who his wife is now looking to keep the team. His wife is looking to keep the team in the family, and she has issues. So, right. And
so it's a situation now where there's so much. It's just ridiculous what this man represents, and the lack of integrity, the lack of competence, social competence to be able to run a team and everything like that. It's a shame, and so it's a situation now where he can easily, at the same time though, he can go by the book because he is an attorney. He can go by the book and be able to say things and be able to state his case and go by the law. So this is going to get messy before it gets better.
Right. And you said that because when the recording was out, he didn't give permission, that causes a lot of issues. But with a second recording coming out, to me, it's just fishy to me. And I don't know, I'm not saying it's a publicity stunt, but I think the whole thing has just been conveniently, I don't know. I don't know what I think, but
whole thing. You're saying the whole thing might have been orchestrated.
Yeah. Personally, I think I just think there's something more to this. And I just think the fact that the second recordings come out, that he was seen at a busy Beverly Hills restaurant, I just think he's a lot smarter than what is going on. And I think, in a way, he almost has the upper hand because I think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it's really, and also he's an attention seeker. That's the one thing about Donald Sterling. He's an attention seeker. He's always been an attention seeker, and he is that type of person. And now it's been reported that he has cancer as well. So he may be at a point in his life where he doesn't care. He has nothing to lose, and that makes him very dangerous.
Yeah, it definitely does.
What, to your knowledge, I know you're not an attorney, but what, to your knowledge, is the possibilities of them being able to hold on to the team and keep it within the family, and Shelly Sterling have a legitimate claim that she's the estranged wife who doesn't have these racist views, that she doesn't share the same racist views as her husband, and she wants to keep the organization in her family? What's the likelihood that they'll be able to do that?
You know what I have to say? If she says that she doesn't have these racist views, then it's funny that her name was put in these housing discrimination lawsuits,
right.
posing as an inspector to try to get people of color out of their buildings, out of their property. Like right there, that shows, shows major racist acts right there. But yeah, and the problem is what Adam Stern did was that, Adam Silver,
Mm-hmm.
what he did, the problem was he banned Donald Sterling. That's it. He banned just Donald Sterling.
Right.
So if Donald Sterling ends up, if he's an older gentleman, he's suffering from cancer. If he gets sick and ends up leaving this world, it's a situation where still his wife Shelley and the children still have a right to own the team. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. So Adam Silver did the right thing, because if he banned the family, then it would have been more of an uproar. I mean, it would have been an uproar for sure about that, from certain people, and also, of course, the owners, I'm sure, would not have agreed with that. So,
but isn't that kind of like a CEO getting voted out of the board, and the CEO saying, "Well, my family's going to become the CEO or run"? Like, doesn't that really? How does that? I mean, that doesn't really seem like it makes a whole lot of sense for them if they vote him out of ownership. That he would just be able to give it to his wife or give it to his kids. I don't, because that doesn't really. He says he privately owns it, but of course he still has to abide by the rules and the policies and regulations of the league. So I do really expect this to get messy. I don't know how messy it's going to get, but he's going to, I think, try to tie it up in litigation for as long as he can. And he's got money to do it. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry about that, Thaddeus.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, and I'm just going by. Also, too, I just want to say that I'm going by reports of what's been claimed about Donald Sterling, and going by quotes of people. I'm not saying that all these things happen, because I'm not
reportedly.
I just want to make sure that I clarify that. I'm just going by that all of the speculation about him and his wife, and it just adds up at the end of the day.
Right.
So.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, moving on to something more entertaining right now is the 2014 NFL Draft.
Mm-hmm.
And you covered this event from Radio City Music Hall, correct?
Oh, yes, I did. I was there, yes, for my show, So Much to Talk About, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us about the shenanigans that went down. I know the top story for us was, the Cowboys and Johnny Manziel. Mm-hmm. He was apparently number one on their draft board. And I don't know if this was all media hype. I don't know if this was a way for the Cowboys to try to gain some kind of media attention. And they pulled the old bait and switch, or the switcheroo, or whatever you want to call it. But I think Johnny Manziel thought he was going to the Cowboys as well at some point, because a lot of people thought that he looked quite embarrassed, or when he didn't get drafted, when they didn't say his name or call his name, a lot of people felt like he was shocked himself that he didn't get picked by them. What is your take on that scenario?
Well, I have to tell you, I think Johnny Manziel is in a great situation with the Cleveland Browns. He has good talent around him, good offensive weapons in Josh Gordon and Jordan Cameron, and also you look at and a good defense, a very underrated defense that has made some nice signings this offseason. Now, the thing with Johnny Manziel, I think the reason why the Cowboys did not make this pick, and I'm going to try to play psychologist here. I think Jerry Jones realizes that, everything has to be done as a soap opera. Everything has to be done with flash, with Jerry Jones and with the Cowboys. And I think he came to a situation where he finally said to himself, let me just, I have Tony Romo. I signed Tony Romo for over $100 million, $50 million guaranteed. I signed him for. Why would I get a quarterback just to make headlines? Just to
Right.
to put more exposure onto this organization that has underachieved for the past few years and has only won one playoff game since 1997.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you look at that scenario. So I think with him picking Zach Martin out of Notre Dame, offensive tackle, which is the least sexiest pick you can ever, and which is complete contrast from the sexiness of Johnny Manziel.
Right.
It's a complete contrast from that type of exposure that the team would add to. But I think he sees that he needs to keep Tony Romo upright. Also, he may feel that Tony Romo doesn't have the psyche to be able to handle someone as polarizing as Johnny Manziel joining the Cowboys and challenging him for the starting job, and him having to look over his shoulder. So it works out for both teams. Johnny Manziel being with the Browns, and also the Cowboys not picking Johnny Manziel, addressing a major need with the offensive line. So now you have Zach Martin, who's going to be opposite of Tyron Smith. And if those guys really fulfill their potential, Tony Romo won't have to worry about edge pass rushers because they will have they'll have each edges on lock. But Johnny Manziel, before I finish, Johnny Manziel said the greatest quote, I think, in the post draft presser. Someone asked that was he surprised that the Cowboys did not pick him, and he said, "Well, I don't think the world will be ready for that."
Wow.
That quote was classic. The entire press room was laughing out loud, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, just that scenario, I was really hoping that he would go to the Cowboys, to be honest with you, because I think that they need that infusion from something fresh and new. Romo has been a very controversial leader, and has been underwhelming for a lot of the fans, needless to say, in Dallas. So I'm not sure, I understand the logic, but at the same time, logic can also push you to say, well, maybe right now we need some fresh energy to push us because, the Cowboys are kind of like the Yankees of baseball or the Lakers of basketball. They're one of the marquee teams in the NFL market. So when you have a team that, has the kind of history that it has, you kind of expect more from it based on its history. And and traditionally, I would expect to have higher performance levels from the Cowboys than we've been receiving, and that trickles down obviously from the quarterback down and the coaching staff down. But I to be honest with you, they're paying Romo a lot of money. Is he ever going to live up to all that money? Are we going to get an Aikman out of him? He's a different kind of player. I don't mean as the same kind of player, but I mean just production-wise. What are we going to get? Are we going to get, what we want? Are they going to get their dollar's worth? That's a lot of money they're paying this guy to perform.
But I have to say about Tony Romo, I have to respectfully disagree with you about Romo. I think now the situation with Aikman, and I've always said this about Troy Aikman, he had Hall of Fame talent all around him. He had the greatest offensive line. He had a great running back, not the greatest running back of all time, but a great running back in Emmitt Smith. He had a great blocking fullback in Moose Johnson. He had Michael Irvin, who's one of the greatest receivers ever, even though statistically he doesn't show that, but he was a true playmaker.
Yes.
He had everything around him. He had the coaching, and I think it's the coaching. That's the issue with the Cowboys. Tony Romo never had that coach except for Bill Parcells, but Bill Parcells left too early. That was the thing. He left too early for Romo, and that was in 2006 when of course, Romo fumbled the snap and didn't make it into the end zone. That's when they lost to Seattle, and in Seattle. So he didn't have Parcells. Parcells believed in Romo, and Romo is really is a wonderful story. He was undrafted out of Eastern Illinois, and Bill Parcells was the only man that gave him a chance, the only guy that saw talent in him.
Right.
And And so Tony Romo really, and also another thing, like statistically, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's fifth all time in passing rating in his career. He's on his interception, his touchdown to interception ratio is 2-1, is over 2-1, a little bit over 2-1. He has a 63-45 career record in his career. So and a 64.6% completion percentage. Romo has been statistically one of the great quarterbacks. It's just at the end of games, which doesn't have much to do with him. It has to do with the coaching. It's just plays weren't being made, and I've seen things throughout the years where I've seen plays that have been called that were questionable. I see the Cowboys have always had intangible issues. That's why they don't make the playoffs.
Right.
So I have to say Tony Romo is much better than what people advertise him, and he's been receiving too much of the blame throughout his career.
Okay.
Going back to Manziel, I mean, he's projected to sign a 4-year contract, $8.25 million, which is around, it's less than $11.7 million in his rookie year if he'd been picked in the top 5. Do you think, although, I mean, in the press conference with what you said, his answers were pretty good. He didn't sound like he was bummed that he wasn't picked by the Cowboys. But do you think deep down he was hurt and disappointed that he wasn't picked in the top 5? Because, I mean, there has been so much hype around him.
Yeah, because during the press conference he said money didn't matter at all, which of course is the right, like you mentioned, Shirley. It's like, it's the right thing.
Exactly, it's politically the correct thing to say in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Absolutely.
the money's going to come anyway. He's already worth the money. I think at some point it has to kind of be about being happy and being in the right situation, because now that you're at a point where you're going to make the money, so it's not even a question of the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, okay, I know I'm going to be worth millions. I know I'm going to go first round. Now let me constantly put my energy on where I want to be, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
and endorsements,
right?
Yeah,
right.
Endorsements. I mean, he makes up for that. And I think because he really, the Cleveland Browns organization is one of the great organizations in the NFL, but they've never made a Super Bowl,
right.
and they had that tradition of Otto Graham in the 50s, and then of course Jim Brown emerged, and ever since that time, the Browns there've been times that they've been a very good team under Marty Schottenheimer, when they made 3 AFC championship games in 4 seasons and fell short in each of those games, coincidentally to the Denver Broncos, all 3 games. That's just,
yeah.
That's just bad. That's being cursed.
Right.
It's the same team in the AFC championship game those 3 times, but I think he really doesn't care about them. I think he sees the Cleveland Brown organization, the fans he talks about how the fans are so passionate, even though the team hasn't played as well, the fans still have that passion. It's one of the traditional franchises, and I think he wants to galvanize that. He wants to energize that franchise, and I think he will, because Johnny Manziel, to me, I've said this to people, if I was the NFL executive, I would bet my career on him. He has that it factor.
He does have the it factor.
Really be able to be a winner.
We haven't seen the likes of him since Joe Namath. Broadway Joe. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we caught this guy when there was snow out in the field. He's on the sideline with a fur coat on down to his ankles and a cigar in his mouth, and he could pull it off. He's just got that kind of persona. Really quickly, I want to get your opinion on Jadeveon Clowney and his he made some comments about going after the likes of Lawrence Taylor being that next LT. What do you feel about his potential in the NFL? I mean, obviously, the Texans haven't taken a defensive player in the first round since, Mario Williams, I believe.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mario Williams. I get excited when I hear that name, Mario Williams. The reason why is because everyone said the Texans should have taken Reggie Bush. Take Reggie Bush this, Reggie Bush that.
Right.
But the Texans stuck to their guns, drafted Mario Williams, and the guy became an All-Pro.
Right.
when Reggie Bush was still trying to find his identity. Now Reggie Bush has an identity. When healthy, he's one of the best overall running backs in the NFL, but that's right now. But Mario was able to really, earlier in their careers, Mario was like light years ahead of Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
And still doing well. He's doing decently with the Buffalo Bills. But Jadeveon Clowney, sky's the limit for him. And it comes to like what we were talking about, expectation with LeBron James. A few weeks ago when we talked about LeBron James, how LeBron James and Tiger Woods are the only athletes I can think of that exceeded their
expectations,
unbelievable expectations. Clowney is in that category because remember, this kid was on the cover of magazines out of high school.
Yeah.
He was seen as one of the great prospects in decades, and he's a once in a lifetime athlete. Now, the thing is that if he can really be able to, he needs the right coaching, and being with J.J. Watt is going to motivate him because J.J. Watt, as you know, is
a monster.
Just, a monster and has that motor.
Yeah.
So Jadeveon Clowney is in the right situation where he's with J.J. and he looks up to J.J. Watt because he talked about that at the presser, that J.J. to play with J.J. He watches J.J. Watt clips to get him pumped up and amped up for games. And now he's playing with him.
Wow. Yeah.
So
that energy is going to be like crazy. Yeah, for those guys.
Yeah,
I can imagine what that locker room is going to be like. It's going to be so energized. It's going to be crazy. I'm really looking forward to watching this guy play. The saying in sports is, offense wins games, defense wins championships. So maybe the Texans have put themselves in a really good position where they can, go ahead and try to be the Cinderella story, with the nice defense. I mean, you got J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens defensively, what comes from the Texans. I'm really excited to see that because I think they're going to surprise a lot of people on the defensive side of the ball. Moving forward, Kevin Durant won MVP of the NBA. Clap, 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 clap. Applause, applause, applause.
Yeah.
I mean, this was
like Jay-Z says, clap for him.
Right, clap for him. This guy, I don't know what to say about KD. KD, I think he speaks for himself.
Yeah.
Just he's a class act, this guy.
I mean, he can do it all.
He can do it all. He's a performer, on the field, on the court. He's very humble. He's well-spoken and soft-spoken at the same time. And just, I think, his speech, they said that, the reports were there hasn't been a speech as, riveting as, his speech since Derrick Rose won MVP back in 2011. I think it was.
2011, you're right.
Yeah, 2011. So, I'm really happy for him, and I'm really glad that his star status and his brand is rising and it's risen. I mean, he jumped from number 4 to number 2 in overall sold jerseys in the last season.
Right.
So,
I mean, you're right. His whole brand is escalating, and I think that he's well deserved. I mean, he's 6'10". He can dribble. He can run. He can literally pretty much play any position on the court.
Right.
And I think that, and the way you say he's humble, he's just the perfect fit for MVP.
Yeah, he reminds me of a throwback. He kind of reminds me of, he has a lot of very strong fundamentals as a basketball player, and he just reminds me of the throwbacks. He reminds me of the Oscar Robinsons and those guys who just, the fundamentals of basketball, because a lot of these new guys, to me, they're great athletes, but they're not great basketball players. And that, to me, is what Michael Jordan and the whole Be Like Mike era did to hurt the new generation of the NBA and basketball, because everybody wanted to be like Mike so bad that they just had perceptions of what it was to be Mike. So they, everybody just wants to dunk and be a hot dog and hold on to. They threw their fundamentals out the door, which they don't really understand. Michael Jordan had some of the very strongest fundamentals of basketball.
Thad, preach.
So
I agree with you 1,100%.
Yeah.
That's wow, exactly right.
So to watch Kevin Durant play, I love just watching this guy play because if you know the sport, then you can see the fundamentals of basketball of what I think John Wooden would be so proud of this kid. Because of everything he like we said, when you're an athlete and you play a sport, you represent that sport, whether you want to be a role model or not. Charles Barkley, you put yourself in that position to be that. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's not just about doing what you love. I mean, if you didn't get all the attention and accolades for playing this sport and you were just playing in your backyard and not making any money, you probably wouldn't play.
Right. It's true.
Let's just keep it real, right? You'd probably be doing something else. So if you want to be in that position, you put yourself there, just take responsibility. And this kid is really doing a really good job of that. I plan to see a lot of shoe sales from Nike, selling way more KDs. And he might actually sell more jerseys than LeBron next year. So we'll see. He looked very sharp. I don't know who styled him, but his suit and his total outfit, he looked great. And I'm really proud of this guy. So congratulations Kevin Durant, and hopefully OKC will go further in the playoffs. They're fighting right now. So
I want to add real quick about KD that what was beautiful about his speech. First of all, his tribute towards his mom was I mean, I have to admit I cried. I have to admit, because I have that type of relationship with my mother, and both my parents. Thank God I still have both my parents and everything. But the second thing was, the wonderful thing was that how he individually talked about all of his teammates and thanked his teammate, each one of his teammates, everyone, from Russell Westbrook all the way down to Andre Roberson, and that showed the class, and that showed the humanity and humility that he has towards everybody. It doesn't matter what status you are on the team. That was what was just a beautiful speech. It was sensational.
Yeah, I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. I saw there was. I mean, seriously, there was people that were just in tears. And,
yeah, I was too.
when he thanked Karan, who was probably one of the newest members of the team. That his eyes were welled up and watery, and when you play on a team and you share that locker room, you guys are a family. Yeah. You guys go to battle together, and you have to have a bond in order to succeed. That's half the battle right there, the chemistry with teammates. And it's obvious that they built that. And I'm rooting for these guys. I really want to see these guys do well. I'm really glad that, Kevin Durant is actually doing and performing what we've all seen from him in college, and he's actually executing that now. So, this is not a surprise to anyone that he was the next in line. It was Kobe and then LeBron, and then we all saw KD like Rod nipping at their heels, and now here he is getting his first MVP. So I'm just proud of the guy. I'm glad that he got it. Moving forward, NHL playoffs really quickly. NHL playoffs. I want to talk about the Kings, and I want to talk about the Anaheim Ducks because they played yesterday, and the Kings just barely squeaked that out. I believe you mentioned how when you are already of a certain caliber and you've already accomplished a certain level of achievement or accomplishment or accolades or you certain wins, when you've already been to the mountaintop, you kind of know the nooks and crannies of getting back to the mountaintop. And it may even seem like when you're down, you're really not down. It's kind of like who's that one team in football they used to be down by like 21-0, and then they would be like, oh yeah, well we'll still win the game, and they come back second half and win. That's just kind of like how the Kings are kind of like that kind of have that that air about them.
And it's that mental attitude that they know. I mean, they're gonna do it.
Right. They're really champions. These guys are champions. They play like champions. Mm-hmm. They play like winners. They step up when it's time for them to step up.
That's the thing. When you step up to the mark and you know that when it's crunch time you can do it, that's what makes a champion.
Right.
And that's what they proved against the Sharks, that they can go. I mean, they won 4 straight games in a row. Who would have thought that? Like
I don't think the Sharks would have thought it.
Yeah, exactly. But they did it, and that's what they can do.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Charlotte.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, they're cursed. The Sharks are cursed.
Right. But what do you think about the Kings being just true champions and true winners, and they know how to get out there and fight when times get rough?
I know Los Angeles better appreciate this team. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Because I know you two appreciate them, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I really hope that the city does. Jonathan Quick, to me, is the best goaltender in the NHL.
Yeah.
He's the most clutch. If I was to pick a goaltender to carry my franchise within the Stanley Cup playoffs, it would be Jonathan Quick. The Kings, what a comeback when they trailed 3-0 to the Sharks, and they were able to come back. Just they have the intangibles. They have everything going for them from the standpoint of players that I think it's more of a psychology. It's more of a confidence in each other and trust. They really trust each other. And when you have a trust that is so deep like that the Kings have, then the sky is the limit. And the trust goes to, like I said, Jonathan Quick. And goaltending is the number one important thing, as we know,
right,
in these playoffs. And
defense wins championships.
It's just amazing how they've had a very good run over the past 3 years, a very good run, and they could have made 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. Well, excuse me, they could have made 2 straight Stanley Cup finals, and the way they're playing looks like they could be heading towards their second one in 3 years. So, just a dynamic team, indeed, dynamic team.
Well, Chicago is leading that series 2-1 over Minnesota. Who do you expect to win that series?
Oh, Chicago.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Chicago, no doubt. I mean, the Blackhawks are the best team. I think overall the most balanced team in the NFL. I shouldn't say the best because I think the Kings at this time are, but the Chicago Blackhawks are the most balanced team, and they should win. I mean, Minnesota, of course, won their home game, which is expected, but I see Chicago winning 4 and 5.
Okay. And we have the Penguins are up on the Rangers 3-1. It's not looking good for the Rangers right now.
Oh boy, I have to be objective. Obviously, I have to be objective, but I love of course, I'm a Ranger fan, being in New York.
Right.
But it's just Lundqvist. It's just too much on him. That's the thing. He has carried that team for a long time. It's just too much pressure on him overall, and it looks like it's over for the Rangers. Okay.
And Boston and Montreal are tied 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a great series.
Yeah, that is a really good series, and that's probably the most entertaining series to watch, I think, out of these playoffs right now.
And it's funny, like how you have some Boston fans that had some racial comments to say after they lost Game 1.
Right.
And everything, and
Boston.
I think Montreal overall has really been very physical with Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that this is going down to the wire, and I can see Montreal beating Boston at the TD Garden. I can see that happening, Game 7.
Okay. That'll be interesting.
Series,
yeah. I can't wait to see how that turns out. NHL, what's happening on the ice? Okay, so just in respect of time here, we're going to go ahead and talk about a couple of things that are going on off the field. There's been this, of course, a controversy with these girls. It's not a controversy. It's really an atrocity about these 276 girls that were abducted in Nigeria.
Right.
And Christian Okoye, who was one of the most well-known and historically well-liked Nigerian athletes, used to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's called out the Nigerian president, saying that he didn't act soon enough, and it was only because of the headlines that he basically started taking some action as far as trying to find these girls and investigating what's going on with it. He's doing everything for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm. Well, they need someone like this because, the government was told, I think it was 7 p.m. that something was going to happen, and they took they didn't do anything about it. So could it have been avoided? Possibly. There should have been action that should have been taken. But I think it's great. There are celebrities that are doing things. I know there's a rally that Anne Hathaway has led in Los Angeles. But it's good to see an athlete take the stand and just stand up for what should have been done and what needs to be done.
Right. And also, it's not even really as just an athlete. He happens to be an athlete, but that's his home country.
But yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost like you have a responsibility.
Right.
And somebody who's taking this responsibility, it shows that people need to step up. And there's a lot of people that are stepping up and saying something, because it's really horrible. It's an atrocity. What these girls could be going through right now as we sit here even talking about it is beyond me. It's beyond words. I don't even know what to say regarding that. But I'm glad that he actually said something and stepped up, and he's holding somebody else accountable that needs to be held accountable for this situation. Everybody has a responsibility, and he's doing his part. Everybody needs to do their part and make people aware and get out there and try to find these girls. And I hope, I pray to God that nothing, crazy is happening to them, and they're recovered and brought back safe. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about this, Nabate?
It's all these things that are going on in a lot of these nations, in Asia and Africa and South America. It's really something that of course falls on deaf ear, pretty much. With issues like this, and it's excellent for Christian Okoye to use his profile, because now it's a problem that Americans know about now.
Right.
And that really know about with him calling this out. And also, too, the fact that he is one of the most famous African athletes, not just in Nigeria, but the entire continent, to be success in the NFL like he was, and to use that platform is outstanding. And now I think things will be done, and I think being able to have help from outside sources as well, that will be a great thing, and it's raising awareness. Michelle Obama, has definitely spoken out on this too. Yeah. So it really, to use that profile for good and everything, and not just use your profile just for status, but to use your profile for humanity, is what it's all about. That's taking the responsibility of being in the public eye to the highest level.
Like what happened with the Malaysian airline with the 200 and some odd missing passengers.
The plane was missing.
The whole plane was missing. Yeah.
That vanished.
Right. But do you think that there is some? Do you think we expect too much from countries that are not as advanced as ours when it comes to crisis situations like this? That's another viewpoint that has been raised. These other countries are obviously not the United States of America. We are the United States of America for a reason, and these other countries aren't as advanced as we are in certain areas. And this is,
obviously they're somewhat advanced though, to be able to, this plane that vanished, went missing. Who knows where it is?
But do you think about as far as the expectations that we have on these other countries when these types of things happen? Do you think our expectations are too high?
No, because they've been able to vanish this plane.
Right.
So for them to be able
yeah.
to do that, I mean, I think our expectations in that circumstance weren't high enough because we don't think that that is possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. you guys know what she's saying. As long as you guys know what she's saying, that's all that matters. No, but I know what you're saying. You know, it's just one of those things. I don't know. Sometimes you look at it and you're like, I don't know. Do they have the resources that we have? I don't think that they have the resources that we have, you know, to react or respond or to be able to fulfill the expectations that we might have because we're so used to, you know, we're used to certain things here.
I agree with you.
You know what I mean?
I do agree with you. And I think in Nigeria, I mean, I read something, this isn't quote for quote, there was something like 20 armed people that they could have sent out in this situation. And they just couldn't compare to the force that the people that abducted were bringing. And that was one of the problems with why they didn't act earlier.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, boy.
So, yeah, our prayers are with these girls, and everyone can continue to campaign until these girls are retrieved and brought home.
Safe.
Bring back our girls, whoever you are out there, because God doesn't like ugly. He really doesn't. Moving forward, what's that, Nabate?
Oh, I was saying,
Yeah.
I was agreeing.
Yeah.
That was well said.
Moving forward, Jim Brown is actually saying that he believes that Adrian Peterson can break Eric Dickerson's rushing record. And we saw that after a career-ending knee injury, this guy came back. I mean, this guy is a monster. He's a beast. Adrian Peterson is probably one of the greatest running backs that we've seen in a generation. I mean, what he's brought to this position and to the sport in general is reminiscent of everything and anything and everything that football stands for and what it means. You know, just his on the field, off the field character, the tragedy that he went through with the son that he found out that he had and then was, you know, tragically taken from him. This guy could actually break the record, and he fell short by 9 yards, or was it 8 yards? 8 or 9 yards, I believe.
9 yards.
9 yards.
Yeah.
He fell short by 9 yards. I don't know if that kind of makes you go, oh, well, I tried, or is it like, oh, I almost had it by 9 yards. I'll smash it next year, or
Right.
I'll smash it in the next couple of years, so I'm not even worried about it. What do you think about Adrian Peterson breaking this record? Do you think he has it in him in the next couple of years to be able to do this?
I have to say, I actually don't think he'll do it. The reason why is because Minnesota, I think it's schematically, they're looking to balance their offense. Because Adrian Peterson had some times last year where he wasn't effective, where defensive coordinators were able to counteract their scheme of him getting the football, their blocking schemes and things like that. And Minnesota suffered because they didn't really have much of a passing offense. Their passing offense was atrocious. So they're looking to really, now to really spread their offense. They're looking to emphasize Cordero Patterson more, Cordero Patterson, excuse me, looking to emphasize him more and to be able to balance the offense. So I think Adrian Peterson will get, if he stays healthy, he'll average 16 to 1,800 yards in the next couple of years. I just don't think he'll get enough carries to be able to get to that mark, and defenses are not going to allow that to happen because now we're in the passing lead, and Minnesota, if they're playing from behind, if they're 14, 17, 21, 24 points down going into the fourth quarter, they can't run the football.
Yeah.
So I really think they're looking to I think those factors are going to contribute to Peterson not breaking the rushing record. And I think they need to go in that direction too with their offense.
Okay.
Fair points.
Okay. Well, Jim Brown, you heard it from Nabate Isles.
Well, I'm not saying that's your face, though. I'll debate anybody. It doesn't matter.
Of course, I know you will. But, we'll see. And you made some very valid points there. So they do need to balance their offense more. Of course, fundamentally you need to establish the run to set up the pass. But if you're down, then you're down, and then you got to do what you got to do. Now you're expecting to pass, and you have to pass because you're not up, and they keep getting themselves caught in these kinds of situations. So if they balance out their offense, he won't get enough carries to break this record. You're right, but Adrian Peterson again is something like we haven't seen in a very, very long time. He kind of reminds me. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say who he reminds me of. He kind of possesses so many different qualities. I think he studied all the greats, and he kind of brought a lot of different backs traits to his own style of game and just made it his own. He's a great.
Yeah, I like him in Walter Payton a lot, like Walter Payton, like a bigger Walter Payton.
Exactly, like a bigger, faster Walter Payton. He runs hard and fearless and reckless and. Reckless abandon. He just, you have to be ready to put your life on the line every time you go to tackle this guy.
Yeah.
Because he's running like that's his last carry. He carries the ball every time like it's his last carry ever. And there are some coaches in what am I thinking of? High school, at the lower level, secondary school, college, that say, look, every play in football could be your last play because it's such a violent sport.
Right.
So
that's the way you have to play.
So you have to play hard and tough and rough. I've seen more guys get injured playing football going half speed than guys that go full speed and all out. But you have to run and you have to perform and go all out on every play. You can't. This football is not one of those sports where you can dog it. If you dog it, then you get hurt. It's that simple. Because it's hard enough to stay healthy to begin with, So Jim, I like that you're campaigning for Adrian Peterson. Think he's gonna break this record. We'll see. I wish Adrian Peterson all the best, and I hope his knee is where it needs to be, so he can actually pull this off. But I think Adrian would rather win some games than break that record.
Yeah.
I think that's more important.
You think he's gonna break it?
I don't know. I'm indifferent about it. I'm on the fence. I really don't think so. I think their concentration needs to be on winning games. They need to win games. Him having that record is great, but I'm sure he'd rather have a Super Bowl ring than win that.
And their concentration is to get the ball to Cordero Patterson because that guy is a playmaker himself.
Yeah, he is. He most certainly is. I mean, him not breaking the record is not going to diminish his legacy, especially if he wins a championship. So they need to win some games. The Vikings need to win some games. Okay, moving forward, and I'm gonna let you kind of head this one up simply because it's New York based. The Yankees are retiring Joe Torre's jersey at number 6, and Joe Torre has done so much for the Yankees. I don't even know what to say about this guy. He's a legend. Played the game.
Yeah.
Is a manager in the game. He's coached great players. And he
coached them, wasn't it, to 3 championships? And
I believe, how many championships, how many World Series did he win with the Yankees, Nabate?
In a row.
Do you know?
He won 4 world titles.
4 world titles.
3 in a row.
3 in a row.
Yeah.
That was it. That's what I was thinking.
So they did three-peat. And it was very controversial because they said that the Yankees were paying, they're paying for their players and they opened up their purse strings and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, the guys still have to execute. So I don't know how much that argument holds up because the guy is still a legend within himself. And I don't know really how much other controversy surrounds Joe Torre as far as those wins are concerned, but those are probably just naysayers or whatever who are just fans of other teams and just want to hate on the Yankees. But I love the Yankees. I thought the Yankees are great. Of course, I'm a Dodgers fan being an LA native, but I've always appreciated the Yankees because of, you have to appreciate the winners. You have to look at the winners and be like, hey, what are they doing to win? at the end of the day, they're champions. So everybody wants to be a champion. You kind of model, your style of play after people who are winners. And this guy is Joe Torre in the Hall of Fame yet?
Oh, he is getting inducted, actually.
Okay.
With Bobby Cox and Tony La Russa, all three of them being inducted together.
Okay. So there you go. This guy he's brought a lot to the game of baseball. It's kind of Joe Torre speaks for himself. So I don't know really what to say about him besides it's Joe Torre. It's Joe Torre. Like it's Joe Torre. Like what must you say? Like he's coached some of the greatest guys in the game, and I think this is an honor befitting him. To retire his number, and I think they said the only single digit would be Derek Jeter's number 2.
Wow. Well, and I wonder if that will be retired. We'll see.
I think they will.
Exactly.
I think they will. I have an inkling that they will. That they'll they'll retire number 2 as well.
It's so funny. A lot of people, like, I'll say this real quickly. Those 4 world titles that they had in 96, 98, 99, 2000, a lot of those ones, the prime of their team, I'm sorry, not the prime. I mean, obviously, a lot of those players were in their prime, but the key members of that team were all from the Yankees franchise or acquired via trade. Derek Jeter from the farm system, Andy Pettitte farm system, Mariano Rivera farm system, Roger Clemens trade, Jorge Posada farm system, Charlie Hayes, who was in the 916 trade, John Wetland, who they ended up getting before they won their first world title. They let him go to have Mariano Rivera to be the closer. So the Yankees had players. Oh, Darryl Strawberry, like trade. Darryl Strawberry didn't have much value when he got to the Yankees.
Right.
That's the thing. They got the right type of ball players, the type of ball players that knew how to. Oh, David Cone, David Wells, the right type of guys that have a foundation from the standpoint of emphasis of winning and leadership. So that Yankee team had nothing. People say that it was all the money, the best team money could buy and everything, but that was later on when they weren't winning the championships. Later on in the 00 decade, when they were winning the division, but not winning the title. So, it's a situation where I give Joe Torre a lot of credit, but you have to give Stick Michael, Gene Michael, and Bob Watson a lot of credit in the front office for bringing the right players and putting them together. And also, too, like I said, that stereotype of the Yankees is so false, during those World Series titles. Of course, it was later on when, like as I mentioned, they acquired a lot of big-time contracts. But as you see now, they've only won one world title since 2009. Sorry, since 2000, only one world title.
Right.
So, but the foundation of that Yankee team, people should not mistake that foundation was organic. It was an organic foundation.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, right before we wrap, let's mention our honorable mention for the week goes to, again, LeBron James, who sold. He already won honorable mention from us a week or so ago for selling the most jerseys in the NBA, and now he has booked a film, a Judd Apatow movie, booked a part in the movie. This guy,
he's just killing it.
A movie called Trainwreck. I guess we'll look out for that, and everybody will be wearing LeBron jerseys in the theater to go see this film and see LeBron's. Maybe that's why he didn't get MVP this year, because he's too busy on set instead of those extra couple of hours. Yeah, exactly. But he's won MVP enough times, I guess, and he's got a couple championships under his belt. He's working on his third one. Yeah, he's working on his third one. So, LeBron, kudos to your brother.
Yeah.
Way to diversify. Where can we find you guys until next week, Nabate?
I'm sorry?
Where can we find you until next time? Where can the fans find you?
You can find my show, So Much to Talk About. It airs 9 p.m. Wednesday night. Every Wednesday night, 9 p.m., you can go on MNN, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, MNN.org, and it streams live, my show. I will be showing interviews from the Sports Emmys that I covered on Tuesday, and then some NFL draft interviews the week after. So
awesome.
Check my show out called So Much to Talk About.
Excellent.
And
Charlotte.
on Twitter is at Nabate Isles, SMTA, NABATE, ISLES,
Awesome.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
And Charlotte, where can we find you?
You can find me at CharlotteB_TV on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Club Thaddeus and GQJedi.com. Until next time, sports fans.
From producers Maria Menounos, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in.
Hollywood redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.
Thanks for watching Black Hollywood Live on YouTube. For more in-depth interviews and news, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion in the comment section below here. See you soon, everyone. Bye.